Welcome to talkSPORT Cricket, and most importantly, welcome to Dharamshala, and I'm going to say it, the most beautiful cricket ground in the world, bar none. I'm Cameron Ponsonby. I'm joined by the Telegraph's Will Macpherson. We have the Himalayas in the background. We have England bowling in the background. It's all just incredibly idyllic.
It is. It doesn't get much better than this, does it? I mean, kind of Cape Town's the only one that you'd think comes close, but that's not, in the Himalayas. So it's spectacular.
I remember Ben Stokes just said it looks like it's kind of painted. And I remember thinking this myself before I knew this was actually like a real-life cricket ground. I saw photos of it. I didn't believe it was a thing. I thought it was like on a make-believe ground built by some kind of billionaire in a faraway land. And I was going to say it's somewhat close to the truth, but I don't think it is at all. Anyway, we have news for you. We have a team for tomorrow, and it's a team subject to change. Officially, we have one change of Mark Wood comes in for Ollie Robinson. Unofficially, we have Shoaib Bashir and Ollie Robinson himself feeling a bit unwell.
Yeah, they've both pulled up this morning with a dicky tummy, so they're not at training. Ben Stokes was very keen to say that this was just precautionary, that Bashir is not really a doubt for the game, but they'll be faced with an interesting decision if he does remain ill. I think it's a case of them isolating him, trying to prevent what happened to England in Pakistan last year. There's also a bit of illness among the match officials who are in the same hotel.
Okay.
I think it's just a case of getting them on their own and trying to get it through their systems.
So I was reading the Ben Stokes quotes from the written press conference after we spoke to him for talkSPORT, and he was asked, do you have a contingency plan for Bashir? And he kind of went, I think it'll be fine, I hope it'll be fine, we'll deal with that as and when it comes.
Yeah, I asked that question actually, and he said,
great question.
essentially, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. It is a slightly difficult decision because they've... it would leave them essentially, assuming Robinson was in the same boat, they've then got a batsman who bowls a bit of spin in Dan Lawrence, or an uncapped fast bowler in Gus Atkinson. They've had Rayan Ahmed and Jack Leach go home on this tour and chosen not to replace them. That's kind of very England, kind of keep things tight. They're backing Hartley and Bashir and saying there wouldn't be another spinner we'd need on this tour until, of course, one of them gets injured or ill on the morning of the game. I think they'd probably go for Atkinson. They said and I think they should if that's the case. But they've said they turned up here. They saw the rain at the weekend and it was torrential, and they thought, God, we're going to need three seamers. We're going to actually have to pick an extra seamer and only one spinner in India. That's unbelievable. But then they've had a look at the pitch, and it does look like a flat belter. People who've been here before, I haven't, say that the pitch looks really different from what even they were expecting. It looks like a batter's paradise, really. So, I think you'd have to pick the out-and-out bowler, which would be Atkinson.
I think it's been really interesting, just walking across the outfield, even just now to record this, when you see England having bowled, or any of the seamers of this series having bowled up close this series, like the wicketkeepers are taking it with their hands pointing down around their hips or their knees, and here I just saw a Stokes bowler delivery to Ben Foakes and it's kind of thudded into the gloves chest high. You go, wow, okay, that's what this is kind of look like. This is going to be the scenario we're playing in. I'm very excited for the potential for Gus Atkinson to debut through kind of a series of dicky tummies and just kind of Bashir gets knocked over, and it would be Robinson back in normally, you'd guess, given he had the match last time. I know there's a point of debate whether they'd have picked him again, but Robinson is himself ill as well, so he might not be available. And Atkinson, the final test match, everyone's fallen over and finally you'd get a game. But I think of this match, it's very special. There's a number of milestones. It's Ashwin's 100th test match, but it's also Jonny Bairstow's 100th test match. You interviewed him for the Telegraph, a great interview, and he spoke very openly. What does this milestone mean to him?
Yeah, I think these kind of milestones are different for every player. We listened to Ashwin yesterday, kind of play it down a bit. Ben Stokes was very much, this is just another game, when he got to that point in Rajkot a couple of weeks ago. But for Bairstow, I think it's more than just a kind of personal point in his life, a personal point in his cricket career. I think it's a family triumph for him. I would imagine most of our people watching this will be aware of his family circumstances with his father's death when Jonny was just 8, and the kind of tragic circumstances around that. The fact that Jonny kind of looks like his dad, does the same job as his dad used to do, a wicket-keeper batsman for Yorkshire and England, I think has meant that there's been a real kind of family triumph element to this. His mum has been a real rock for him. He's got a younger sister, Becky, who's also been a massive part of his life and career, and they're all here this week. It's just a massive moment for the Bairstow family as a whole. I think it's going to be very emotional, actually. I don't quite know what England have got planned yet, but I imagine there's going to be some kind of little presentation tomorrow morning. I hope the weather's like this and they'll all be in the huddle. He's got a young son now with him as well, Jonny. So, yeah, it's going to be an emotional week for him. And knowing Jonny Bairstow, you wouldn't be surprised
Oh,
if
it'd
he,
be amazing, wouldn't it?
if he get, you can almost imagine the celebration now after a lean series. A couple of people making a bit of noise around his Test match future. He's 34 now. You could just totally see it.
His son's first call memory, his dad turning up in his 100th Test. I think just as a third party to the situation, I find it so refreshing and kind of enjoyable when you see an elite athlete like Bairstow saying, yes, this means something to me, and kind of going the opposite way of being like, it's not just a number, doesn't mean anything, let's keep going. With Bairstow, I think with most cricketers who reach a 100 Test match, it's a kind of confirmation, it's a rubber stamp on their quality that was kind of expected. If they stayed there, they would reach it. Whereas I think with Bairstow, he's missed 50 tests since...
This could be his 153rd test,
exactly.
Not his 100th. So it's amazing how much cricket he's missed through injury, really bad injuries, unfortunate injuries like the one in Sri Lanka in 2018 where he came back and scored one of his big press box hundreds, I call them, where he looks up at the press box. But
I was nervous there for a second when you...
Yeah, there's another way of talking about those kind of hundreds. But yeah, he's had injuries. He's also just been dropped loads of times.
But so exactly, it's a kind of... what's the word? An achievement of resilience and perseverance as much as a confirmation of ability. Another milestone that would, I think, probably be a confirmation of ability and longevity this Test match would be Jimmy Anderson is 2 wickets away from 700. I know we've been talking about the pitch it looks like a belter is the word that Ben Stokes used, and it could be a batting paradise. But here over the last domestic season, during this domestic season, seamers have been dominant compared to spinners. So we'd expect Anderson to pick up those 2 wickets and reach 700, which, I mean, we talk about all the time, but it is worth reiterating just how ludicrous an achievement and bowler and player he is.
Absolutely. The other thing just to say about conditions is that Jimmy's bowling behind us still, but the ball's been moving in the air in practice in a way that it hasn't been at any other stage in the series, at any other venue. You can sort of see why that might be looking up. But yeah, Anderson, there's kind of a series of test and first-class records that kind of get set or have been set in the past, which you just know aren't going to be broken. And I just think the idea of a seam bowler getting to 700 is now just totally ludicrous. You look at that great battery of Aussie bowlers who are playing at the moment, Cummins, Stark, Hazelwood, Cummins, and he's got 250 odd, and he's absolutely incredible. He's in his 30s as well, so I don't think he's got a hope in hell of getting to 700. Clip that up and you never know.
Yeah, exactly.
In 10 years time I'll look like a right idiot, but I think it's so far ahead of anyone else's what's possible. It's just incredible. He's 41. Stokes says he's in the best condition he's ever seen him on this tour. I think last summer was real pause for thought for Anderson. No one quite was sure why. Everything looked kind of fine, but the wickets just weren't happening, and then now he's gone away, he's got really fit, he's running in with a lot more purpose, and he's been brilliant this tour. I know he was outstanding in Vizag, and he got a foot bag to show for it.
Sure.
In the last 2 tests he's played, that hasn't been quite the case. But yeah, here, and just quietly, he's going to play 4 tests in a row in India. He's going to play 2 sets of back-to-back tests, and I just, didn't think that was possible at the start of the tour. Amazing man.
He's going to end up going to the Ashes next year, isn't he? Anyway, despite the weather, how it looks at the moment, I'm in a t-shirt. Will's probably a bit warm in a jumper.
I am warm, yeah.
In theory, the forecast says it's going to rain a little bit tomorrow, and then after that we should be clear for a Test match, which I find unbelievable, because when we arrived it was thunderstorms, apparently been like that all week. But as we said at the top of the show, or top of our segment, it's idyllic out here. Make sure to tune in live for every single ball on talkSPORT 2. The following on podcast will be with you every day as well, and as ever, of course, all content will be coming to you on the YouTube channel as well. Make sure to tune in and see you then.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.